Welcome back, guys. Automotive Inc. here. Today, I'm going to give you the keys to the castle on your next vehicle purchase. Now, all of this information will cross over to any vehicle you want to buy new. We're not talking about used on the used market. We are talking specifically about new vehicles today. You can put some of this into the later points we're going to talk about. Now, this video is going to be long, but it's going to save you thousands of dollars. I was in the car industry after I left my long career, set that back and moved on. I became a truck driver, and then I worked in auto sales, fleet management, fleet manager in sales, and I'm finally going to share everything that I know about it to try and help each and every one of you save a ton of money. Before we get started, do me a favor, help a small channel out, smash the subscribe button, whatever corner that's in. At the end of the video, give me a like, hit the notification bell, and make sure you save this video and share it with your family and friends, because at the end of the day, we all work very hard for our hard-earned money, and this is going to save you. Now, dealers really, again, don't want you to know these things. They want the average human walking in, wanting a new car. They're salivating at the mouth. They got to get this new car. And so all they can think about is buying, and then they got you on the hook, and they can just take you wherever you want to go. So we're going to go through these points. Like I said, you can rewind at any point and come back, but let's get started. Now, this first point is going to be for you guys. You're going to do all of this work before you go in. You're going to be so informed, so ready to buy, that they're not going to be able to pull any wool over your eyes. Now, there's always some small fine print or an asterisk you might have missed, but I guarantee you, if you follow these steps, you're going to leave the dealership way better than when you walked in. Now, first things first, know your budget, okay? Don't go car poor. I did this when I was young, before I had all this knowledge and all this experience, and I was car poor. So each one of you needs to know your budget. So when you set that aside, you need to actually set all your bills, all your house payment, rent, anything that you might have to pay, figure out, because at the end of the day, this will play in later in finance. Your debt to income ratio has to be at a certain level depending on how banks want to loan. So that way they want to know it, but you also need to be comfortable with it, because once you get in there, there's a lot of things that are going to add on to that payment or that price of that car that are going to change that substantially. So know your budget, all right? Next thing, I want you guys to know your FICO score. You should have a credit card probably, or maybe your credit union or bank. They probably offer a free FICO credit score. Now, this score, they use different bureaus, Experian, and so on, that help you determine your score, but actually your finance rate later. So, with your budget, with your FICO score, you need to definitely know all of that. Okay. Because when you know that, guys, then you can have a very good idea, because when we talk about the next thing, you can actually go and find out what they mean by well-qualified buyers. So rates and everything. When you call your credit union and find out their rates, you will find out that they have a certain parameter. So I would say, unfortunately, the higher the score, the better. But if you have a low score, you need to keep that in mind. You're probably not going to get approved for as much as you might think. Let's put this in perspective. So one of my favorite tools, guys, is a freeservicecalculator.net. You can type in auto loan calculator in whatever browser you want. It'll take you to this website. So if we kind of look here, this is breaking down a monthly payment. Okay, guys, so this is a very cheap, inexpensive auto, 25K, 60-month term, 5% APR, which is pretty good in this climate. Not good in my mind, but that's what it is. A low down payment of only $1,000. We don't even talk about trade in this, 8.5, and saying that you have $1,000 of the registration fees and stuff, which would be right on par, but with D&H and everything, that's what it's encompassing. You're already at a $452 payment. And again, some of you might know this, but a lot of people don't, that when they just look at the prices of their car, they just kind of divide it by 72 months and, oh, my payment's X amount, right? Well, at the end of the day, that's why we're doing this video today. Like I said, I've had family and friends reach out to me. I've helped them find cars. I had a lot of people ask me about how I buy my cars and do this and do that. And that's why this video is. So again, along with your budget and your FICO score, those are really the two first things that you got to know. Because I'm telling you guys, if you have a sub I guess, subpar credit rating, I would say under 550, you probably want to have all your ducks in a row before you go in, because the lower your credit score, typically, if they do loan, say your debt to value works for the bank, you're going to get a higher APR. A lot of these lower rates are for people that have probably a 650 or above credit score. And if you have an 800, I would say you're in pretty good shape as long as you have a good work history and everything like that. So I touched on this just a second ago, guys, in regards to know your rates and the rates that are available out there. So you know your FICO score, you know your budget, call your bank, call your credit union, and ask them what their typical loan rate is without them running your credit. And then they should be able to tell you, hey, right now we're offering a 5.9 for 72 months. It goes up 1.5% for every 12 months you add on to that loan. So whether you go 60, 72, 84, they even have crazy longer term loans, which I would discourage you guys from doing that. But sometimes an 84-month loan is the way you have to go, especially because later we'll talk about that when we talk about incentives and whatnot. Once you know that rate, guys, you can kind of play with those numbers. You can go back to the calculator.net website, type in a vehicle price where you're at, type in the APR, type in the term that you're thinking that the bank said that they would technically hit that rate on. You're comfortable with your down, everything like that. If you have a trade, you can kind of play with those numbers, and then you can kind of see if that payment with that APR still falls into your budget. Okay, so we got to do all of this before we even get crazy with doing it, because a lot of times this is a way you get carport and you get in financial trouble. After we've done that, guys, now it's time to find the car that you want. So it's best to use those search engines again and try and research it. Most of us know we want an F-150, a Super Duty, a Subaru Outback, something like that. Go do your test drives. Find a dealership close to you, because this process is going to take a long time. They're going to get you in the vehicle. If you even get to take it alone or you have to drive with somebody else, they're going to talk for about 35 minutes. Then they're going to come in and want you to shake hands with their manager and sit down and talk numbers and everything. Don't get balled into that. The easiest excuse is to tell them, hey, this is my first stop. It may be your last, but you're going to tell them it's your first stop. And I got other vehicles and other appointments I have to go test drive. Let me have your card and then step away. One thing I will tell you, though, is be a little bit movable. What it means on that is if you have your heart set on driving, say, the Camry, the Corolla, the Subaru, and a Ford, go test drive all of them, and then have a couple different ways you can bend in that car. Meaning if you decide, hey, I really love the Subaru Outback and I want it in white, find at least one more color that you like, or find that time, or you're gonna limit your search later for the car, which isn't a big deal necessarily. But be a little bit movable on that, saying these are my must-haves, these are my not must-haves, because you don't need to go look at a car that's $10,000 more than the car that's actually equipped or is equipped the way you actually want it. Because again, they're going to sell you whatever you can get qualified for. And then that's a way for people to say, well, I didn't really need this feature, or a feature that isn't in this car is very important. And they try and stick you into that car or switch you into a car that doesn't have it, saying, well, you can get this added later. Potentially, but that's going to be out of pocket expense. So go do all your test drives. Tell the nice dealer person, the salesperson, whatever you want to call them, this is my first stop. I have a lot of appointments today. So that way they'll try and speed up the process. Now don't really even care about their prices. Just use them as a segue to test drive the vehicles. Now, I will tell you this, there are a lot of great dealers out there, and those people make money only typically when they sell a car. So make good use of their time, be polite. And if they treated you great and you decide you love that car, then that's a dealership you want to start looking at first when we start getting ready to actually buy the car, is you want to go back to that dealer. If the dealer arm wrestled you and was pissed that you had to leave, well, too bad, too sad. You're not obligated to do anything like that. And if they're rude to you, that's probably not a dealer you want to go back to anyway. So a dealership that respects your time is somebody that you definitely need to put down in your memory as somebody that you want to go back and visit when it's finally time to actually sit down and do the car deal. Now, once you've actually figured out the car that you want, call your insurance guys. Reason being is because if you're financing a new vehicle, if you're paying outright, you'll have the opportunity to put liability insurance on instead of full coverage. But there is a stark difference between liability and full coverage. In your coverage, if you were involved in an accident or somebody hits you or hail hits you or something like that, and just liability, which basically covers almost nothing except for if you hit somebody else. So call your insurance to say, I'm looking at this car. Do you foresee that it's going to have an issue? And what you can do is take the VIN down of the vehicle you test drove earlier in your findings, call them and give them that VIN. Say, hey, how much, based on this VIN, would my insurance go up? I think a lot of people don't know when they go from an 88 Chevy pickup to now a $90,000 Denali pickup, their insurance might go $400 or $500 a month depending on your driving history. So call them and get that aspect lined out, because another thing is you go buy your car, you're all happy, and you call to put your insurance, and they say, oh, your premium went up $190 a month, and that $190 a month is what you need to use to buy mac and cheese. So really, call them and get that figured out, guys, because it may be something where you decide, I think I'm going to hold off. My insurance is going to go that far up, or you decide to go with a different car in that realm. So now that you've called your insurance, you've got all of that figured out. Now it's time to sit down and do your research. This is where I talked about earlier. I said, be movable, be patient, okay? This is the second largest purchase you're going to do besides your home or your rent. Typically, for most people, not everybody. Some people spend a lot of money on other things like boats and RVs and stuff, but typically it's one of these type of purchases. So slow down. Now, some of us are in need of a car that day, but I'm telling you, if you take the time and do this, you can do your research in one day. I'm not saying you have to take 2 months to figure this out, but once you find the car, find the manufacturer, the vehicle you want. So for this specific example, we're going to just use Chevrolet. We're going to use Chevy Silverado, HD, it doesn't really matter, but just for this example, we're going to use this. We've settled on it, and so now we're going to go do our research. Okay, so we can save as much money. Every $1,000 you finance, depending on your rate, can change the payment between $10 and $25, $30, depending on your rate and your term. So $1,000 is worth an hour or two at your house. So if you start your stuff earlier and you settle on a car earlier, go home, do your research, find the best deal. We're going to get to all this and just slow down for a second. Don't get caught up in the, oh my gosh, the dealer's going to tell you it's the only one and we just don't have any more. Well, I will tell you this, every single buddy, since COVID, everything's catching up. There are thousands of cars out there. So if that one moves on, everything happens for a reason. You will find another one if you use my tips. All right, so when you figure out what you want, guys, you're going to go home into your favorite browser. I don't care. I use Google, so for the rest of the thing, I'm just going to talk about the Google A. And you're going to go up here. We're going to type in Chevrolet.com, right? Okay, so you can go up here. You can find the vehicles icon right here. You can hit shop. You can do whatever you want. Sometimes they'll have some of these incentivized rates right on their front page. But say we're not looking at a half ton here. We're actually looking for an HD truck. So you can go over here. You can find trucks. We're going to go to HD. And then this will come up right here. Now, this right here is an excellent rate. Where'd you go? Here we go. So this right here, though, says for well-qualified buyers, plus no monthly payment for 90 days, 5.9 for 84 months. So that seems like a pretty good deal. Now, you can always find this in whoever's manufacturer. So Toyota, everybody's website, you can find it. Go to their current incentives. I'd be real leery of specifically just typing in current Toyota offers because it may ping on a high demand or reviewed topic on that search engine. So it's best you go to the manufacturer's website and actually pull this up. So one thing I want to tell you is there's always a little asterisk. There's always a little thing we need to click here. So let's click this right here. All right, so now we can kind of know the thing. Finance charges accrued from the date of financing. Deferred payments, 5.98 for 84, so that's $14.56 a month. For every 1,000 you finance, example down payment's 11.6. So let's just round it down to 10%, guys, and say you're financing an $80,000 truck. That's $8,000. So this rate, depending on everything that's pulling out, this is the things you need to know right here. Must finance through GM Financial. I like GM Financial, no problems with that. They have a good app and stuff. Down payment required at signing, if applicable. So blah, 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 shows it's not available in Pennsylvania. Some customers may not qualify, not available with lease and other offers. Must take retail delivery. Now, that's not meaning that it's all encompassing. There are other offers. You can always go over here and do this. And pull up other offers. And then this is why I like going through the manufacturer's website, guys, because you can actually go in here and actually type in your actual zip code here and find out what exactly. All right, so we go here, we're going to type in our zip code. it's going to bring up your typical discounts. So now that that's pulled up, then you can go down here to Silverado HD and we can see some Chevy Summer Drive. Typically you can click on 3500, etc. This should cover everything that's available in your area. Now, it's very important you take a picture of this. You take a picture of the restrictions due to the financing. Quick example. A couple years ago, my wife liked the Hyundai Tucson, right? And so dealers themselves are incentivized, and they work specifically with tons of banks. Meaning they work with GM Financial. Hyundai works with Hyundai Financial. And what they'll do though is they're incentivized to send that loan you're approved to Ally or your local credit union or your local bank. And that rate may not be as good. So if you know that this exists, then you can do it, because especially if you're payment conscious, you can use this ammunition. So back to my story. We're at Hyundai. My wife was payment conscious. They ran her credit. She gets approved for I think it was like a 7.25 for 72 months. And I said, well, hold the boat here. Hyundai Financial says that she not only gets the rebates, but she can get a 4.9 for 84. And they said, no, that's not true. That's not true. So I whipped out my phone. I took a picture of it. And I had already went through Hyundai's website, did the little search by zip code, found out, read the exclusions, took a picture, and then they just kind of stood there scratching their head. That's 3% on your APR you already just saved. So that right there is huge over the long-term interest of a loan. Not only does it lower the payment though. So, I mean, that right there is gigantic. So, lo and behold, they were kind of like, well, geez, Louise. Okay, well, then we're going to pass on the car. Well, hold on a second. We can get you that. Okay, so know your rates, know what you can basically get approved for, and you're all going to be able to do this because you're going to know your FICO score. You're going to kind of know all of those other parameters. So that is huge. And again, everybody typically has that on their website. Full disclosure, all of those manufacturers love when you finance through them. But again, local dealers have ties with other banks that they get kickbacks for sending the loan to them versus the big guys. All right, now that we've kind of got a ton of homework, we got pictures taken of the incentivized rates. And again, if you want to do this for every manufacturer and you kind of want to go dip your toe in every pond and decide if you want a Chevy or a Ford, but this is really after you've kind of dialed down the vehicle that you really, really want. So now we're still at our house. We got all the ammunition, right? So now we're going to go back to Google and we're going to type in blank dealers in our area. So Chevy dealers in my area. Okay. It's going to give you a list. Now it may give you the list for the whole state. And if you want to expand your search out of state to get a better deal, you absolutely can. But I will warn you, if you contact a dealer out of state, make sure one, they will sell to out of state residents before you do that. Two, make sure that they get the correct rebates and rates based on your area. And two, they may not collect sales tax. So here in Colorado, every time you buy a vehicle, you pay sales tax on it. And some of those dealers won't do it. So then when you go register your vehicle, you have a big old whammo of a $3,000-$4,000 bill on top of your license plates. So just check with that. But now we're going to go there. We're going to type in Chevrolet dealers near me, whatever you want to say. You're going to bring up every Chevy dealer, and it behooves you to check with as many as you possibly can, right? Because I'm going to show you here in just a second. Some dealers are still marking them up. Some dealers are discounting them. Some of those dealers are smaller. They don't sell a lot, so they've discounted theirs a ton. It's going to behoove you to write all of those down and then go to each one of those dealers' websites and check that out. So I hope you guys all got your popcorn, because it is going to get good and even better. I love saving my money and I love lower payments. You should too. All right. So now I'm going to show you just the reason why you do this research. We've settled in. We want a new Chevy Silverado HD truck. I know I want a 2500, and the more 2500 equipment I can get for the money, the better, right? Because we all talked about knowing that your must-haves. Well, if you get a lesser model with lesser equipment for the same price or even more money, wouldn't it make sense? By our research, we get the best deal, right? So we cruise over here. Now, AutoNation is a gigantic dealer all across the several states. I thought it was America, but maybe not. But we cruise over here. Now, look at this one right here. So just take into consideration Chevrolet Silverado 2500. It's $75,904. Base price is $1,200 off. Okay, well, All right, that's all right, but we cruise through here and you can scroll through and you can kind of see comparable savings kind of across the board, right? $1,200. So we're going to pick this one because this one has the wheels and stuff that we really want. But at $85,999 and MSRP is $86,475, so make sure you read that correctly. You can see you get a $1,200 savings, taking it down to $85,999. Now that is a lot of scratch, right? Now some of these websites, you can click on that vehicle and actually look at the window sticker so you can compare window sticker to window sticker, okay? And we're gonna do all of this before we even go to the dealer, guys, because we're gonna find out the first dealer we want to go. Now, I'm not super picky on my color. I don't really prefer black, but by going to every dealer's website, you're gonna find out the best one. As long as you stay within your state, I don't think you have a problem with them making a deal on it or whatever. So now we cruise over to a smaller dealer. All right, this is Emick Chevrolet. It's a smaller dealer here in Denver. And look, we have an 86,045 MSRP. They're discounting the truck $51.63. You got your DNH, that's normal. And then you can see that their discount price is $81,581. So you're already $4,400 cheaper. And then this one I already looked at earlier. This one compared to the black one over at AutoNation, this one is even more well equipped. LTZ. So there's already $4,400. This might be a dealer we want to start with. Now you can see right here they have these additional rebates and offers. You can click on each one of those by hitting details, and what that'll do is it's going to tell you what each little exclusion is to get one of these, when they expire, and how much that discount is. So now we found the vehicle and we already got $4,400 off. I compared equipment. This is even more truck for the money. Same packaging, same everything, and preferably I like this other color better. So again, be slightly movable on what you do. Now, if you just have your heart set on red and you got to have red, then go after a red one. You're just going to have to either wait a little bit longer or do whatever. Now, this isn't going to be applicable to having to wait for a special order. Discounts will probably be a little bit different, but you will be available to get any rebates at the time the truck or vehicle comes in. So don't get discouraged in that. Now, they may not have as big as discounts on a vehicle that wasn't dealer stock ordered, but don't forget, if you special order a vehicle, check your current rebates when it comes in, because sometimes they're great rebates. Now, not to leave out the Ford guys, AutoNation Chevy wasn't the cheapest, but you can go over here to AutoNation Ford and you can see they have some pretty good discounts on some Super Duties. Now, some of these trucks are going to be ones they have multiple ones of, so they have bigger discounts. There was one on here that had a $6,000 discount on an XL. But again, some people love the XL package. They don't need all that extra swag. They need a nice truck, and there is no such thing as a stripped down car anymore. So at the end of the day, you can do that. But you can see all the way through here what this customer retail cash is and what their discounts are. And you can click on those details and find out if you apply for them or if you don't. So you know when you go in, so they can't say, well, we're going to show you a price minus all these rebates, but you may not get all of them. So keep that in mind, all right? Now we're going to head over to AutoNation Ram, right? And look at this deal. $86,373. You get $2,000 summer cash, and then they're discounting the truck another $10,000. Taking it down to $76,740. And then you can click on their See Available Specials and see what else you qualify for, okay? Print it out. Take a screenshot of it. Take a picture of it. I will tell you, it's easier to do a lot of this research on your laptop or desktop than it is your phone, but it's completely accessible on your phone. If you're super savvy, your tablet, whatever, you can do all of that stuff that way. And again, you can see just by searching. Now that AutoNation Ram, those discounts, that summer savings, that is nationwide. I checked on that with Ram. But at the end of the day, those discounts are not across the board. You go to any other Dodge dealership, probably in our state, and they do not have those deep of discounts. So why wouldn't you go to the best place to start with the best price? Now, I've done a lot of dealings with them. That's where I bought all of my Rams, so I know they're a reputable dealer. There's no craziness there, really, other than just the standard rigmarole when they're selling a car. But that's a true discount, man. AutoNation typically gives you that true discount. And like I said, that Emick one, I've talked to Emick before on a previous Chevy potential purchase. They're legit on their actual price. But again, that's what you can do when you take the power back and keep it in your own hands. Now we're ready to call and see if this Chevy is available over at Emick, okay? You don't want to get into a bait and switch scenario where they still have a vehicle listed up. Now, luckily, most manufacturers control basically if the vehicle's on the website. So if the vehicle gets sold and it passes through the system itself is sold, then they will pull it off. But there can be some lag time there. No ill intent on anybody to do that. But at the end of the day, call and make sure. Now, we're going to call Emic and say, we like this truck. Here's the stock number. I'm looking at the price. I see this nice discount. What does it entail? All right. Did they already put the rebates in there? If they say, no, this is our dealership discount because we've had the truck on the vehicle for 65 days, it doesn't really mean the truck's a piece of crap. It just sat there. It didn't float somebody's fancy. So it's still there available to you to buy if that's what you like. So we call them, we find out what their discounts mean. If any of those are restricted to some type of financing or whatever, if they say no, that's it, great. You just got the salesman to admit that the discount is across the board, and you've already done your research to see if you qualify for any of those additional rebates to take money off. All right, now before we head down there, we've already got our salesperson's information. We're getting ready to go, but guys, we have a trade. Maybe you don't have a trade. If you don't have a trade, this won't be specific to you, but if you do, listen up, please. So in Colorado, we pay the difference between the trade and the new vehicle. We have to pay sales tax on that. You've already paid sales tax once on the previous vehicle that you're trading in, but you need to know your payoff. Meaning if you have a car and say it's worth $10,000, according to Blue Book and whatever else like that, you have negative equity if you owe $15,000, right? You have $5,000 negative equity. And so that money is going back on the new loan. So you need to know your trade payoff, call your bank, get a 10-day payoff with a per diem, because if you do all this stuff, it saves you time at the dealership. So get your per diem, that's your daily interest rate charge, and find that out and get your payoff. So we have a $10,000 car and we owe $15K. So we have $5,000 in negative equity. That's presuming the dealer gives you the value you want. That leads me into the next segue. Find out your trade value. Go to Kelley Blue Book. Go to NADA. Go to Cars.com. Go to, what's the other one? I don't remember. Go to those websites, Edmunds, whoever, and get an average of what vehicles are selling for in your area. Because yeah, your vehicle may be worth 15 grand in Kansas, but here locally they have 6,000 of those used, and they're only going to give you 7,000. So now you would have $8,000 in negative equity because you owe 15. So instead of 5, you have 8. That's going to barter in later when it comes to your payment and your rate, because some banks don't want to loan that much. But you knowing what the value is, which you feel comfortable with, then you know when we go into the dealer with some more ammo. Now, it's going to benefit you to print those screens out. Now, especially if the dealer you're going to has a very similar equipped vehicle like yours that you're wanting to trade and they're asking blank for it, it's a good segue if they're 15 grand difference on their vehicle and you go look at that one and it's not even half as nice or has tons more mileage, then you can say, because they're always going to say this, hey, oh, well, when they're selling their used car, they're going to say, well, Kelley Blue Book says we're this. They're going to take the higher of those two values. When they talk about your trade, they're going to talk about auction values. Oh, this is what I can go buy them at the auction for. And this is what I can go do, so I can't offer that much. They can do that much, but they don't want to, because that's called holding on the trade. So I never did that. I just shot square. If that's what it was worth, I just told the people, I said, that's all in on the trade. You can do your own research. That's what we're going to offer. I didn't hold on a trade, because when you hold on a trade as a salesman, you make more money. So at the end of the day, know that ahead of time. All right, now we're ready to hit the dealership. We've got all of our stuff in a little file folder. We've got it ready to rock and roll. We've got our screenshots, everything like that. You're going to go to the dealer and meet up with that nice salesperson that you talked to on the phone, confirm that the vehicle is available. Make sure you're prudent with their time. If you're going to be late, just call them, let them know. Because again, they don't make money unless they sell the car. So if you just completely blow them off, it's kind of rude. So make sure you're just respectful to their time and everything like that. You get to the dealer, the salesperson's super nice. They got the vehicle, everything like that. Now you're going to go take a drive. Hopefully they don't go with you, so you can actually get a real feel of this vehicle, and if this is the one, you can listen for rattles and squeaks and everything like that. Now again, this is on a new vehicle, so you can use a lot of this towards the used segment, but at the end of the day, this is talking new. So we go in there, we're looking at all that. If they ride with you, they're going to be talking about your family, your dog, your skateboard, everything like that, and then they're going to say, so what do you want? Where do you want your payments to be? Where do you want this and everything like that? Be polite. You know your budget. Don't talk payments. They're going to want to know, oh, do you have a trade? Do you have money down? Do you know your credit score? Be polite, be vague. Say, yeah, I got good credit. Yep, I know my budget. Let me just see if I like the car. We'll talk about that in a minute. Don't know if I'm going to trade my old car. You know you're going to trade it or not. You already knew that. You already did that homework earlier, so you know you're going to trade it or keep it or sell it, whatever. So at the end of the day, just be vague with them. Be polite, but don't get caught into it, because if they get you on the hook and you say, well, I want to be under 700, yeah, they're going to be at $699.59 and say, well, we're under that $700. Come on now. So at the end of the day, be vague. Be polite. You already know all your homework. It's in your folder set aside. Now we're just driving this vehicle that you found the price on and see if you even like the darn thing. So once you do it, go see if you actually like it. Now, the next point we need to talk about is add-ons. So you'll get to a dealership, you'll see the nice window sticker, and then you see a little sticker beside it or something like that. They call it an addendum. That's crap that they have added to the truck. Now, I've had this several different times where I go in and they say, oh, well, it's got the Colorado protection package. This is undercoating, ceramic coat, clear bra, window tint, and all that's included in there, including rubber mats. Well, look at the car. Does it have window tint? No. Does it have a clear bar out? No. Are the rubber mats in it? No. Then probably they didn't put the ceramic coat on it because it's probably dirty and still has all those little chalk marks from the factory. Tell them you don't want that crap. You don't just have to take it. It's not on there. Now they can either piss away the sale, or they can make the sale, or they can discount the package. You know, sometimes there is the window tint already, but they haven't got the bra on there. So I don't want any of that stuff. If they want to make the sale, they're going to discount it, or they're going to not even put it on there. But those are upcharges because they make money for selling those products, and sometimes they're of value. Some of them are not. We'll talk about that later. But at the end of the day, watch for add-ons. Is there anything else that goes on this truck or that's been put on this truck? Because sometimes people don't want clear bra. And if it's already on there, say, I hate clear bra. I don't want the truck. Well, it's already on there. Maybe we could just take it off the price. Yeah, that's a win. All right. So we're going to do it that way. All right. Once we get back to the dealer, we know that we love the car. We've found out the add-ons. We need to find the out-the-door prices with taxes and D&H. D&H means dealer handling. This is an excessive fee that any dealer can charge. They have to post it if they're charging it. Here in Colorado, they have to post it. And this is just additional profit. If you actually read that little thing that they have on the wall where it says $5.99 dealer handling, this is additional profit, prep fee, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. Almost everybody has it, so it's just something you have to get over. But I've seen up to $1,200 of D&H, which is pretty crazy because if you look at your window sticker, you already had to pay for shipping and handling on the truck just to get here, right? So at the end of the day, find out what it is with your tax rate. That's going to be based on the address of where it's going to be registered. So you can already do that. Google too before you leave the house. You can know your tax rate. Most people know it because you're always grocery shopping in the same area that you're going to have your house is. So you know you're paying 8.5%. So that's what my tax rate is here is 8.5%. So I already know my tax rate. So it's okay if they upload your information to the computer, do the test drive and stuff like that. They can find the outdoor price. That's them, discounts, rebates, taxes, etc. and so forth. We're still not really talking about trade yet, okay? Because we already kind of know those baselines. So get the outdoor price and get a bottom line on that, because that gives us the next bartering point. Once you have that, then we talk about trade and down money. So I will tell you guys that yes, every time you put money down, it lowers the amount you're going to finance. Keep in mind you're going to have new plates, perhaps emissions, accessories you need to buy, window tint, that's going to come out of your pocket. So if you saved up $6,000, I would highly encourage you to save at least $1,000 of that for your new tags, because that's going to be a punch in the groin when you get there and find out how expensive those tags are, even on say like a $30,000 vehicle or even one of these HT trucks when it's like $1,900 for your license plates. And I'm not going to go into how each state does it, but I'm just going to tell you, hold back just a little bit, because again, it only makes probably a $14, $15, $20 difference in your payment, and you're going to have to get those things put on. So make sure that's something that you consider. Then we talk about trade and down. Let them go take your car for a drive, whatever. Go with them. They went with you, right? You already know their value. So when they come back and they do the rigmarole of, well, we like your car. We think it's worth $5,000. And you already looked at the value, you've looked at the market, you looked at cars.com, you've already looked at the book value, and you feel comfortable with $10,000 as your trade value. Keeping in mind there might need to be a little bit of bending there depending on your comfort level. Say, you know what, because they're going to say, well, we think it's worth $5,000. What are you thinking? Because if they can get you to agree to $5,000, Great, they're going to sell the thing for 15, and they make what's called pounds on it. Okay, they're going to make 10 pounds. That's $10,000 by the time they put it through the shop and resell it for $15K. And if you still owe 15 and they only give you 5, you now have $10,000 of negative equity that has to be tacked back on the loan. So this is where you kind of just need to hold firm, especially if you got a nice car and you really don't need this new car, you just want it. This is where you hold firm. And then they may come back and say, well, what if we give you 85? Well, they should have done that in the first place. I didn't have time for this arm wrestling thing that they used to do. So, bam. Okay, 85. Now we're only 1,500 off. Okay. All right. Well, maybe you can get some other deal out of there or whatever. But keeping in mind, most banks only owe only loan 110% over the face value of the vehicle. So the MSRP is $80,000. They'll do 110% over that. So that's how much you can carry between tax, title, negative equity, add-ons, and finance and stuff like that. So keep that in mind when it comes to you need to get as much for you. Now, here in Colorado, I've heard about the pig with makeup on it. They always tell you, well, but look at all this tax savings you get by trading your vehicle. Okay, we already paid the taxes. That's not a savings, okay? So if they give me more of my trade, it does save me taxes. If they would straight up give me $15,000 for my car and it's worth 15, I save another $10,000 at 8%. That's another $1,000 roughly of taxes. That's $1,000. But they're going to tell you, look at the tax savings. I know we only want to give you 5 for it, but at the end of the day, look how much tax savings you're getting by getting 5,000. Well, no, you're tacking 10 grand onto my negative equity, and yeah, I'm still only going to pay the difference between the trade, but I pay less taxes at 10 grand to 20 than I would if it's 5 to 20 grand. So keep that in mind. Don't let them tell you that that's savings. You already paid for those taxes, at least here in Colorado. So don't let them stick it to you there. Then a lot of times they start pulling out all these other forms. Well, hey, while my manager's trying to get you your numbers, let's run your credit. Okay, well, first things first, you've already probably found at least a couple different vehicles at different dealers. So we're not going to run our credit. You already know your FICO score. You already did that research before. You can say, hey, just go in and tell me what you would do it based on that rate. Because again, in our back pocket, we have calculator.net, right? We already know potentially what our rates could be. It might be that 5.9 for 84 from GM Financial, right? We already know we're an A+ credit score. We know we got a good budget. So no, just go ahead and figure it out, because this is where they'll start playing games. Meaning, they'll give you numbers, and at the top, you'll see this weird payment range, money down stuff. You already know you settled on down, you settled on your trade, you got your bottom line numbers, so check those. Check, make sure nothing got added, nothing got taken out, taxes are in there, D&H, all that crap. All the rebates you apply for. Make sure all that stuff's in there. Look at their little columns right here. And underneath those payment range, ask your salesperson, what APR did they use to figure out this payment? The reason why they're doing it is because they'll throw in something wonky like 12%. And that 12%, you already know you're not going to do 12%. That would be stupid, especially on an $80,000 vehicle. So they put in 12% to inflate your payment number. So then we're like, well, I don't want to be at that payment number. Well, let's see if we can do a little bit better. So then they keep trying to get you running credit. Then they go back there and plug in, say, a 10.9. Well, of course your payment's going to go down, but you ain't going to take a 10.9. You can get 5.9. So they will keep doing this until you get it. Well, at the end of the day, sometimes they will come back and say, hey, we figured it at an 8.99 based on average credit. Okay, then that seems legitimate. 8.9, we already know. We can go to calculator.net with those bottom lines, or money down, or trade, and everything like that. And we can actually plug that in at the 5.9 and be like, okay, if I get the 5.9, then I'm happy. So now it's time to run the credit. So go ahead and fill out the credit app. Be honest. Do everything you possibly can in that to give them as much information as you can. Let them run your credit and see what you can get approved for. Now, keeping in mind the next point is they're going to come back typically with their local bank over that 5.9 from GM. They're going to be like, well, I can't get you the 5.9 at GM, but what I can do is 6.24 at local bank A, or this big bank series that's not the person who you want. Stand firm on that. You need to try and get that finance rate that you really, really want. Like we did, we were going to walk on the Hyundai, end up saving 3%. That was huge, and still getting all of our discounts. So make sure that you do that. Now, at the end of the day, guys, most dealers are fairly honest also, but a lot of them don't necessarily know. So they do what's called reserve rate. So if you don't necessarily qualify for the 5.9 from GM, you might qualify for 6.24 at the next bank. But what they do is they hold a reserve rate, probably a 1.5%, 2%. Meaning what they do is if you agree to that, the creditor, the bank, already knows you're approved for this. They basically make money for selling your loan at a higher rate. They make more money on that purchase, period. And you are the negative benefactor of that by having to pay higher interest rate. So on my last truck purchase, hey man, I'm nosy and I like saving money. What did I do? I called the bank that they said they got me approved for. The bank allegedly got me approved for a 9.25. Ridiculous, right? But the channel needed it. So they said I was approved for 9.25. I said, that's kind of weird. But then there were some other nuances. So what I did is I just went ahead and called that creditor. And they said, oh, yes, Mr. Ehrlich, you are approved for a 6.99 at the same term that they said, which was blank blank. And I'm like, interesting. All right, cool. So I called them back, said, you guys got to redo the numbers before I come down and pick this truck up. And they got so pissed off. They're like, we got finance people that know how to do it. And I said, hey, I just want my rate. I already knew that they were doing the reserve rate, but I just called the bank because I wanted the truck and I was going to make sure I got the best deal on it. So they plugged my number in there, and that saved me a lot of money per month and a lot of money over the long term if I was going to carry out the term. So do your research, call the bank. And if they get pissed off, guess what? There's more cars to be found out there, okay? Unless you're in dire complete straits where your car rolled in on 4 flats and the muffler's dragging on the ground, I understand those circumstances. Sucks. I was there once in my life. But if you can make it a little bit longer, another day, to do a little bit more research, then it's going to help you. All right, so we are getting ready to wrap up this video, but now we've got everything done. Now we got to talk finance, because this is where a few more games come into play, and this is where it can hurt you in the pocket. All right, guys, so now we're getting ready to go into finance. They say you're all done, it's all good and everything like that. We're going to head into finance. Now, typically the finance manager's job is to sell you crap for the car. Crap meaning window tint, clear bra, warranty, extended warranty, gap. Now, some of those things have value to both you and me. Gap, if you're carrying negative equity into a vehicle and your taxes, I'd highly suggest you look into gap. Gap is a coverage that covers any inequity that your insurance won't pay if your vehicle is a total loss. So if you owe $70,000 and you carry, you had bought a vehicle for $70,000 and you carried $10,000 negative equity, so you're already $8,000 over. You carried $1,300 to $2,000 in that. You get in an accident, and they say wholesale value is $60,000. Okay, Gap is going to cover that inequity so you can pay off your loan and wipe it clean. All right. So that usually is based on either a percentage of the vehicle cost, so typically $1,500 or less, but that may be a very good thing to add on to your loan. Is window tint important to you? Well, I had it done at some dealers based on that, and it was garbage. So I ended up having to go back to my same guy too. So if they're charging $200 and your local guy does $200, you can decide to add that in your loan or whatever. All of these add-ons are going to add into your payment. All right. Then we go into warranties, right? And what they'll typically do is they're going to start plugging numbers and saying, well, look, here's a stack of all of these coverages, your payment's this, and here's your coverages, here's this. Make sure you look at the very top and make sure your APR is correct, your annual percentage rate that you're approved for, that they told you that the final thing you circled, the payment and everything, that's what they're using. Because I've caught them before where they've marked that up again, leaving the reserve rate in, and then they come back and cut or upcharge their products, and then eventually lower my thing. It's a whole thing. So just make sure all the numbers make sense. So you're going to go through those stacks, find out which one of those. If you don't want that crap, tell them no thank you. Be polite. Their job, they're not necessarily trying to screw you, but they're trying to sell you stuff, all right? So you can say, yeah, this makes sense. No, I don't want that. Gap makes sense, blah, blah, blah. Muffler coverage and wheel and tire coverage, all that stuff makes sense, whatever. You decide what products make sense to you and so on and so forth. But what they'll typically do is they'll say, well, you look at this extra coverage warranty. I can extend you to 100,000 and blank amount of miles. So most manufacturers have a 5-year 60 on the powertrain, and they're going to try and sell you an extended warranty that covers you to 100,000 and 7 or 8 years. Typically, it's like 3 years. That warranty runs congruent with your manufacturer warranty. So really, you are only getting about 3 years and 40,000 miles of coverage, right? But there's this big number attached to it. And what they'll do is you'll say, well, I'd like that, but I won't do it. And they're like, what if I could get the warranty down to this? And then all of a sudden they show you your payment's $60 lower, but you're still getting the coverage. Typically what they're doing is they're taking out certain coverages within that coverage. Meaning, the last one I went to Ford, right? And I bought the Power Boost, and so I said, well, I wouldn't really like it. But keeping in mind, the F-150's headlight alone is like $1,500. Well, the warranty initially started at like $3,500. By the end of the day, it got down to $1,200, right? She's like, I can get it down to $1,200, only fix your payment $3 a month. Well, I just want to get the heck out of there. So finally, I'm like, fine, do it. Just do it. Because you can always cancel those warranties later if you trade the vehicle or get rid of it. And once the loan's paid off, you'll get that refund. So she signs the paperwork. I get the brochure out, and sure enough, she's crossed out headlight coverage, all this other coverage, and basically the warranty didn't cover really anything. I paid $1,200. They make a commission on selling you those products. So ask them, what are you removing from that warranty to get that price down? If they say nothing, get that in writing. Get the brochure, have them initial it saying, no, you're still covered on all this. So that way you have some, hopefully you never have to use it, but you have that legality coverage saying, hey, Joe Schmo on this day signed off saying that they didn't remove anything from it. Because I can tell you this much, that coverage was basically nothing. And I didn't even know it too, that by that time she'd even cut the term. The coverage was only like 12 more months and 12,000 more miles than the factory warranty. So that's a lot of extra dough, because you're going to pay interest on all those extra things that you add onto that loan. So really keep that in mind. Okay, guys, don't let them sell you anything. They're going to bend your arm for 30, 40 minutes. They'll be like, well, listen, doesn't some safety and some security make you feel better at night and make you sleep better and not poop your pants? They're going to sell you on everything. Finally, you just have to say, listen, man, my time's important. I got to go and I'm not interested. Or buy those coverages, but make sure what the heck they cover. Last but not least, 2 things, guys. Make sure this thing is approved before you leave. Now, if it's 10 o'clock on a Saturday, you're probably not going to have a good estimate. But if you already know everything, or you've been pre-approved and everything, you know it's approved, try and get it approved. When you go through your addendum paperwork, make sure there is nothing in there. So in Colorado, they used to have a big scam. They would have this paper, you go down initially each side. Each side, basically, there was a paragraph down below that said, if we can't arrange financing for you at the approved rate agreed upon by the buyer and the seller, they used to put 21.9%. Meaning, then they could still sell your loan for a higher interest rate and you're on the hook for it. Meaning they could call you back in 3 days and say, well, we couldn't get you a 5.9, but we did get you a 16.2. So we need you to come back in and re-sign on that. Now, there was an exclusion saying if you didn't accept that necessarily, in the old days, you were just on the hook for it. And then at the end of the day, now they changed it to saying that, well, if you don't agree to that, then you have to pay them X amount per mile, which is usually like, I think it was 50 cents per mile and $100 per day. So you're paying both of those. So say you buy it and take it on a 1,000-mile road trip, and they call you in 2 days, say it's not done. Now you got to drive the truck back. So you have a couple thousand miles at 50 cents a piece. So that's $1,000 there. And then on top of it, you've had it for 4 days. So that's another $400. So you're going to owe them $2,000 because they couldn't do it. So make sure you get it approved and make sure your paperwork matches everything down to the T. Go through the pricing line. Now you don't have to read every line about Hawaii if you're not Hawaii, and does this exclusion if you fly it in a windstorm. I don't know. You don't have to read those necessarily paragraphs, but the numbers ones, your APR, your annual percentage rate, your down, make sure all of that matches. And then that way, if it's approved and good, you aren't going to get a call in 3 days saying, oh, geez Louise, bring the car back, or hey, you got to switch your APR. No, get everything to match. If it has that little paragraph in here in Colorado, guys, make sure that they put your approved rate on that line, because then they can't come back and say, well, he agreed to arbitration. It says right here, up to 21%. We got him approved for 15, so he has to take the truck, or we can do whatever we want to him. So keep that in mind. Guys, I know this was a long video, but this video, there is no way to save you thousands of dollars and keep it short and be brief. This video, you can go back and talk about each situation. I kind of paused in between each one of them. But after you do all this, guys, you save your money, sign and drive, enjoy your vehicle. Be careful out there. Again, guys, please make sure you follow the content on the channel. If there is a video you have questions about or want to be made, make sure you comment in this video specifically, and I will try and get back to you or try and make that specific video for you guys. I want everybody out there to drive safe. I want you to enjoy the cars if you're a car person. Be safe, have a good, reliable vehicle, and I want you to keep your own dough in your own pocket. So, as always, thanks again, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.